And after, I think, a little bit over a month, if I'm not mistaken, I'll have to check with Catherine and Travis. We are back with Live with Singular. I'm excited. We got a good stream lined up for you today. And first of all, let's introduce or reintroduce, bring her back into the loop, Catherine. And behind the scenes is Travis. How are you? Good to see you.
Probably muted himself, but he's good.
Yeah, that's
we know
okay.
He's good.
We have a really fun stream for today. We've got a new partner of ours in Dolby that's going to show Dolby I/O, and we've seen a little bit of it, but not all of it, which is, I think, my favorite kind of demos where you haven't seen everything. I have tried it; it's absolutely amazing, but I haven't seen all the details. So Dan's going to join us from Dolby. But before we dive into that, Catherine's going to do our What's New section to see what's new across Singular. Take it away.
Yep. All right, so our graphics output conversion software Recast, which converts our outputs to NDI streams, has undergone several really important updates in the last few months. And it's now capable of running multiple output conversions on a single operating system, which is pretty cool. That was in demand. And then one of our more interesting use cases of Singular Graphics recently was the Pro Chess League Finals broadcast. Graphics operators were located in 3 different continents, operating sophisticated and API integrated graphics. The production showcased immense scalability and global reach, all without the headache or footprint of graphics hardware, we like to see that. And then lastly, in our most recent webinar with Stephen and I and a couple of our other colleagues, a group of us, we dug into how to build table type graphics with data populated from a Google Sheet. And this is a really good watch if you're looking to extend your knowledge of how to work with Google Sheets in combination with Singular Graphics. So we had a lot of really good questions there from the audience. So lots of food for thought if you're looking to dive deeper into custom graphics building. You can find out all about these topics and more in the link to our most recent newsletter in the description. And with that, let's bring on Dan so we can dig into Dolby I/O stuff.
Dan, welcome.
Great. Hey.
Good to see you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're really excited to see Dolby I/O. I have logged in and created streams and seen some cool, and it's been absolutely great. I know that our dev guys, when we wrote a widget to take in your live streams, the super low latency streams, it just right into into Singular. It was seamless, worked perfect, absolutely no issues. But I haven't seen all the details, and I know you're going to show a couple of different use cases, one using interactivity and one using earned-in graphics, I'll call it, on a standard stream. So the table is set, no pressure. We have a lot going on, so it's all yours, Dan. Let's dive into it.
Great, let's take it away. So we got about 25 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it to that. This is going to be an action-packed demo. Ryan, our director of strategy, was going to join me, but we said, hey, with how much we're trying to show, I'm just going to jump in, give the overview, and take it away right to the demos, because that's the most fun thing about a live stream. It's actually seeing things in action, and that's what we want to show today. But let me do a quick setting of the table, taking over from Stephen here. So Dolby I/O. What we're going to focus on today is delivering interactive broadcast experiences. And so you're saying, well, what is that? What does that mean? We're going to look at the progression of kind of traditional live streaming and where we think that this is going, especially as we reduce latency and increase interactivity. So let's step through what Dolby I/O is. If you've never heard of Dolby I/O, you've probably heard of Dolby before, right? Around for 60 years. Delivering premium entertainment. Now, Dolby I/O is kind of taking all that and trying to make it more accessible to developers. We're a developer platform. We have APIs, SDKs, and we really focus on this interactive and immersive experience. So, like I said, we'd like to deliver 3 experiences across the whole platform. We have several products. What we're going to focus on today is our real-time streaming product, but they deliver immersion, interactivity, and social engagement. And you might be saying, okay, what do we need for those things? One, we need speed, right? And so the real-time streaming product delivers streams very quickly. And then interaction, we've got a couple different ways that we can do this, which we'll demonstrate. So the first one here is just a quick example of how you can actually engage with the stream in a way that let me cue this up here. I'm going to actually put this into the YouTube chat so you can see this for yourself. It's always more fun when you can actually click on the demo yourself. So this is a simulated live broadcast that we're running 24/7. It's on our website. But the idea here is instead of getting a burned-in multi-view, you can actually interact with the content by clicking and switching and choosing your own view, choosing your own adventure. So that's one possible way of looking at what interactivity looks like. And then the other ways are like, how do you actually engage with your audience? So with Singular, we have the power of doing polls, customization, a lot of interactivity with kind of overlays, and that's what we're going to look at today. And then the other part is how do you get feedback from your audience? And so we've worked with other technology partners like PubNub as far as getting chat and reactions and actual data across the line as well. So let's dive into what the real-time streaming APIs are. So Dolby.io acquired a company called Millicast a little over a year ago. And so Millicast is all about streaming to large audiences at scale, right? It was a broadcast first approach. So if you're an old school broadcast person, we're going to feel very familiar to you. You can use a lot of the tools that you already had, such as RTMP, SRT. And then we're also trying to pave the way with what you can do with WebRTC. So WebRTC being the core technology that runs our platform, and we take these other contribution formats and we distribute as WebRTC. Our core team with Sergio, our Chief Technology Officer from Millicast, writing the specs for WIP and WEP, which are ingest and egress protocols. I'm not going to go too far into these right now because, again, demos are what we want to see. But we are putting a lot of effort into where we think that live streaming is going, especially as far as that interactive component. Some common use cases when you think about where does that speed really matter. So this is kind of some of our core parts of the business. So if you're in any of these industries, come talk to us. We're happy to show you some workflows. But let's get right to demo time. All right, 5 minutes. That was great. Here we go. So I'm going to come over here and just kind of give you a sense of what the platform actually looks like. So I'm going to log in. I've already created an account, obviously, so I log in, I hit our dashboard. Everything that we're showing you is API driven, but we have an interface on top of it. So if you want to do this, come in here and click, just try it for yourself. You can do this. We kind of base our channels around this notion of a stream token, and so a token can broadcast multiple streams. So I could call this Singular. Oops, live typing. Always an issue. Singular, I can name the stream whatever I want.
Singular wrong too.
I'm going to go ahead and just come in here to this pre-baked one that I've already done. I have a couple of streams that I've pre-set up so a token can have many streams. And I'm just going to go ahead and show you like what do we have to offer that is so different, right? So I'm going to come in here to our hosted web broadcaster. I'm going to switch over to the front camera that we're seeing here, and I'm going to hit start, right? So this is just starting a broadcast using Dolby as real-time streaming. I will then grab the link here, open up this, and this is where you want the side-by-side, so you can kind of get a sense of how quick this is. And so here we go. So just gonna do some finger waving, right? So, and again, this is not smoke and mirrors. I'm gonna drop this link into the YouTube chat as well. If you want to click on this and see for yourself, we're probably actually coming in faster over this stream than we are over the kind of vMix solution we're using here in the studio.
Yeah.
So it's really fast streaming, right? So as we talk about what do you need to actually interact with an audience, this is one important component of it. And so what we offer is this platform at scale where you don't need to worry about managing servers, right? WebRTC is a peer-to-peer connection. It's stateful, right? Each playback client talks to a media server. We manage all of that for you. We can scale to very large audiences in ways that is very difficult to do. So that's kind of the core offering of our platform and the benefit of it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this down, but that is what Dolby.io is. So let's go right on to the next demo. I can close this now. So let's look at kind of traditional graphical workflows. So we also maintain a version of OBS. So here's the same thing. I'm getting ahead of myself on the demo. So here's OBS. This is a fork that we maintain. It's all about, again, streaming very quickly. So I've already come in here, and from my broadcast my dashboard for Dolby I/O, I go over to the publishing tab, and here are all of the kind of expected broadcasting endpoints that I might be familiar with. So I can use WIP, which is for contribution in WebRTC. I have RTMP and RTMP-S for contribution with RTMP. And then lastly, SRT. So depending on if you're using a hardware encoder, if you're using a piece of software that has a software encoder for one of these protocols, we can handle it all, and you don't even need to tell us ahead of time which one it is. You can just pick the one that you want to use and plug it in. And if you're using our version of OBS, which we maintain with WebRTC for the fastest connection, you simply go here to your stream details, you pick Millicast WebRTC, you drop in, let's see, I'm going to switch to my Singular stream. And so I've got my publishing token, which I drop in here, and I've got my stream name, which I drop in here. It's as simple as that. If I hit start streaming, now I should be able to switch over here. The stream comes up live, and here we go. Same thing that we did in the browser, but now it's coming from OBS, and I can see my camera's got pillar boxing, so if you're watching that on the stream, that's what's causing that. I'm going to drop this link into the chat
Did that
as
link make
well.
it into the chat?
I'm seeing a comment that it's not getting to the chat. I don't know if there an admin approval that needs to happen to actually post them.
Ooh, I don't know. I can check that out.
All right, so let's get to a couple of kind of traditional graphical workflows, and let's start with this one. So this is some simulated gameplay content. And so in graphical workflows, there's kind of two ways to do it. The old school way where you kind of burn your graphics into your stream. And then there's the more modern way, which we'll get to, which is doing it on the client side. So I've got some just, again, simulated gameplay content running here. And I want to show you one way that you can use Singular. If you haven't seen, I'm sure you guys have done lots of demos with this, but for our audience, this is probably going to be new. You can actually load custom docs into OBS. I've got a couple preloaded, but you get the control URL from Singular. You drop it in here, and you say, OK, apply. And what it'll do, I'm going to pop it up now. If I go to the gaming demo, this pops up the control interface. So this is the Uno interface, the kind of simpler, easier for me as a non-graphics person to actually operate. But I've got a couple things here now. So I've got all of the kind of controls that I can still flip to and customize. Let me make this a little bit bigger. I've got some pre-built graphics that I can overlay. So let's go ahead and just show what this looks like. If I navigate back to the first control, so I can turn on a lower third. So there we go, being burned in as I stream it out. You can see it over here. There's asset burn, my gamer name. If I want to put my name in the top corner, I can do that. And again, you can kind of see here on the side of my screen just how fast this is. And then what was recently done, and so what I'm showing now is the widget that was built using our real-time streaming product. So inside of Singular.live's Composer, you can actually use a widget called the Dolby I/O Millicast widget, and that will you basically plug in. Let me come over here and show you what it looks like. Here we go. So right here, I know this is a little bit small, I apologize. I've got my gamer cam graphic. That's this little bit here. And so what's happening is I can turn this on and off. It animates in and animates out. But in the actual composition, there is a Millicast widget, which I'm just putting my credentials into, right? Same thing that we did from the dashboard. And what's happening is that is coming in through Singular and getting overlaid. So what this really is that little stream that I snuck in below. It's this stream, I called it player cam, just being rendered into the graphics, right? So end to end, it's a way if you're thinking of how can I put like a 4-box up with like, let's say we're doing a racing game, right? We're all playing Mario Kart. We want to have each person's first-person view. This would be a clever way to do it. You could put in 4 instances of the Dolby I/O widget. You could bring in individuals on and off, and you get all of that really attractive animation and benefit of Singular Live just by doing that. So I think that is a pretty compelling use case.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Right. I have a couple things I'll just drop in, Dan, to give you a brief break. Is the docking of that Uno. Uno is one of our control applications. And the second piece to the puzzle, how it's getting overlaid onto within OBS is the output URL, which you can see at the top where Dan has put added Singular as a browser source. So you have the browser source and the control. That Uno UI is completely responsive. It can be opened up on mobile, tablet, and that kind of thing. So yeah, there's the link for the
Yeah.
output URL. So, and then the latter one that you were talking about, actually bringing the live stream into Composer, and that opens up a whole nother level of, I'll call it, possibilities. And that was my first interaction before I even met Dan, as we put together that widget, and it worked immediately. And Dan mentioned earlier when he started the video, in terms of speed, this is by far the fastest stream I've ever brought into Singular. And in terms of on and off and turning it on, I was like, okay, this really works. So yeah, we're really excited to have that widget inside of Singular. Yeah, rock solid performance, absolutely amazing. So I'll let Dan keep going, because I think there's a few more things he's going to run into or show you.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So let's look at another kind of client-side use case. So this is cool because this brings in video, but how about if you're actually operating like a score bug or something like that? So I'm going to come over to another demo, right? So this is simulated sports content. We're going to kind of do the same thing. Instead of doing this doc, I'm going to switch over to another one, which is I have to close this window. Come over here to docs and go to score bug. Right. So now, in a very similar way, another Uno operation here. I can turn on the overlay for the actual game, and I can increment the game. I can turn on the timer or add overages, right? So another demo, but same thing, applied slightly differently about burning in the graphics. So these are very traditional workflows. I think that we're all familiar with how these work, but what about kind of the next evolution in graphics, right? And I think it really starts to move to the client side. So let's move over to the next demo. Go ahead and stop the stream. And so this is I'm going to do this side by side. So we've got Uno here on the right with yet another pre-baked demo. But this is the same stream that we had in our multi-viewer. And what I have here is a deployment of our player, right? So this is a Vue.js player if you're a developer. It's easy to pick up. It's essentially a plugin, so you can just drop it in, put your stream information, and you get all of the niceties of our hosted player for WebRTC out of the box for free. You can turn on or turn off these different components to the actual stream. And then what I've dropped in is the overlay SDK from Singular. So it's, again, essentially a one-line operation. I've got a little bit more detail put in here for a couple of different demos. But now, if I turn on my graphics, then it's the same thing. Instead of what we did where we burned it in from OBS, what this is actually being rendered in the actual player client. So I can turn it on and off. You can see how quickly it animates. And again, when we think about being reactive with your graphics and needing something to happen in real time as you're interacting with your audience, this is crucial, like the ability to have the graphics show up at the same time as what is happening in reality, showing up onto your stream. I think that's really important. So we can now match that speed with the stream of Dolby I/O's streaming. So cool, great, right? We've got graphics being rendered. It's nice that we can do that, right? Everything scales just like you would expect it to, as if the graphics were burned in. So how do we take this to the next level? And I think that's where the client-side interactive piece comes in. So for my last demo, let me pull up this one. So this is a pre-baked clickable app. What I'm going to do here is let's get this one into YouTube, because I think this one is also even cooler when you can see it and click it for yourself. But I've got here myself. It's the same stream we were doing before. And if I turn on this link, what we have here is actually a call to action. So if you like what you've seen and you're like, I want to know more, I want to try this out for myself, we have a try it now, if I can be clever.
There you go.
So you should be able to actually hover over with your mouse In the player, yeah, hover over this with the in the player, and if you click on it, it's going to actually take you to sign up. It's got a code on it to bring you right to the free plan for our streaming account. I'm actually logged in, so it's not going to take me to the right place, but it's the opportunity to actually interact and engage your audience. So think about use cases like online shopping or polling
Yep.
or anything like that. These are the kinds of things. And you guys talked about how you were building dynamic data sets with Google Sheets. So have something that is you know, a playlist of different things to advertise or pop up to your users. There's the possibilities are infinite. I think it's such an exciting time when you can actually customize this and personalize this for streaming. And so just to demonstrate how flexible this is, let me actually move this button up and down, right? So now if I move it
There
up,
it is.
right, and even the interactive part of it moves. So
Yep.
I think
Nice.
it's super
Yeah, it's super
cool.
cool. It's really neat
So
because, again,
apparently,
it's all
for some
clients.
reason, Dan. Sorry, I
What's
just
that?
wanted to say, for some reason, your links aren't coming through on YouTube. I've got to figure out the moderator stuff here. But if you could drop them to me, I'll do that
Oh,
for
yep,
the audience. I'll drop it
yeah.
to them
Darn
so everyone can have access.
it's a much more compelling demo when you can
It was
actually click it.
smooth, like perfectly smooth demo, except for this, which is our fault. For some reason, you're blocked.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really like, again, it was meant to
There
be
we
a
go.
lightning round of demos because I think it's really cool. I would love to take a deeper dive at another time on how to build these and you know, we can even do something where we work together on actually doing a composition. But let me just close with kind of how it works, right? So a lot of people are like, oh, like really interesting. Let me let me kind of get a sense of how would I plug my workflow into this. So we call this the workflow, right? It's meant to be, I point it, you describe what you're trying to do and I guide you through how to actually do it. But again, you kind of, there are several phases along the path of doing live streaming, right? So first you have to get your signal, right? So it's a camera, it's something else. You then need to broadcast that and encode it into a streamable format. So that is where you use something like OBS. We have so we talked about OBS, we talked about our hosted player, but at Dolby I/O we have a ton of different ways that you can do this as well. We have SDKs in pretty much every language and platform that you might want to use. If you're using a hardware encoder or a software encoder, like I said, you can use RTMP or SRT, so we can take those. And again, we turn that into WebRTC for you. What our core service is this WebRTC CDN. So it's about streaming really fast at scale to large audiences, and you don't have to worry about it, right? Typically with WebRTC, you have to manage servers. It's a complicated mess, but we handle that for you. And then on the playback side, again, we can handle pretty much any device, any platform, and we even just launched our new Unity plugin. So if you want to do something kind of interactive in the virtual world space, you can take advantage of this. You can take advantage of the multi-viewer, all of that inside of a virtual world. So again, the possibilities are endless, but when we look at putting that speed together with technology like what Singular offers, I think that it's really exciting.
That
Very
was
well done.
awesome.
That was really, really good. I mean, you went through, sort of built up to, the different pieces in the puzzle or different ways to use Dolby I/O and with Singular. The last one that you showed, when we get the Singular working effectively as a layer in your player. I think that's sometimes easy for some people to understand. It might not be, super techy, but that's essentially what it is. And it's rendering, as you said, client side locally at your browser is rendering that in the player. That opens up a whole new world of possibilities. And I like the idea of maybe doing a deep dive where we even take the example that we showed or other ones and really swim upstream into the Singular to show the users how we author, how we publish, how we revision, adding the interactive layer, because that's super compelling. I mean, the ability just moving around the buttons around the screen, that try me button that you had, is super compelling. I mean, it's basically, it's the sort of the next, I don't know, horizon for doing for graphics. And that also leads into um, localization of ads and whatnot. So there's that possibility as well as language specific stuff. So yeah, phenomenal demo. Really, really enjoyed it. And we definitely will be doing more with you and your team. So we're excited to show. Do we have any questions in the Q&A section? I love the questions. Ask us anything. The thousands and thousands that are out there watching us right now.
Eventually, right?
It's all quiet. I hear crickets. What the heck? Well, I have a feeling that that's going to change on our next live stream, where we can do a deep dive into the various bits and pieces of this. It's a lot to take in at first, but honestly,
Oh yeah, it's the
once
lightning
you
round, right?
break it to, yeah, the lightning round, and you know, but once you break it down into individual components, and you ask yourself, like, what are you trying to do as a broadcaster, as a
Mm.
pro streamer? You know, what is it you're trying to achieve? And then it's sort of a use case, and then we can show you the tools. But incredibly impressive. No questions. I like questions.
Yeah, well, I mean, as we look at people who are trying to, like, again, figure out what is the next phase of engaging with your audience, right? It's always like latency has always been a blocker to that. So removing that
Mm.
barrier and allowing people to have that participation in real time. And it doesn't have to be like that it's a two-way video, like a video conference, right? It can be reactions, it can be
Mm.
polls, it can be like the ability to just get feedback to the people who are delivering the broadcast. I think is just such a, it's going to open up opportunities. And then you look at the ability to do live advertising, live shopping, you know, especially with the live scoring, it's all just kind of endless. So
Yeah,
And
and
then if
there's
you get
certain
into
types of
stuff like,
content.
I was just going to say, like betting,
Go.
you may have been about to mention that, where you really do need low
Mhm.
latency. Like it's just like right at that moment, you need to be engaged as a viewer.
yeah, absolutely, hugely important in that space.
Yeah.
Auctions, gaming, anything where you're doing, like, real time sort of like shopping type channels where latency is important, where there's, a clock ticking down and you can purchase something by X, by this
Mm.
moment in time. Yeah, there's certain areas
Yeah,
where
or
you have to have low latency.
yeah, and think
Yeah.
about let's take live shopping as an example, right? If you're presenting and you don't want to wait 4 seconds, 10 seconds to get feedback from your audience, right? It's the whole thing.
Mm.
If you've ever been on like a corporate webinar or where
Yeah.
there's a question that's asked and it's like you have to wait for the delay of what you said to get there, the question gets typed. By the time it gets
Mm.
back to you, it's like 30 seconds passed. So this again reduces that barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Timing is important.
Well, impressive. I don't know if there's any other questions you guys or things you guys want to touch on. I think we like you
Does
said, it was a
Travis have
lightning
any
round.
questions?
Travis is back there somewhere.
We could tee it up for Travis. No? All right. It was a great demo. I think you laid out kind of like current and even more what's becoming now dated, eventually graphics and video workflows into what we really, want our users to try out, which is this player client side stuff, because it's so powerful. And, with Singular, you can build pretty much any type of interactivity you want. It's not restricted to pre-baked stuff. So that just opens up the doors for creativity for sure, as a, like a graphics builder. So
I would encourage our viewers to try it out. Go to Dolby.io, try it for free, start a stream. Honestly, it was the fewest number of clicks I've ever done to get a phenomenal stream going instantly. I just went to the page, signed in. I actually used my Google account, token done. I mean, I should have counted the clicks. It was so few. It was
he's
just
all
like
about the
four.
clicks.
I was all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay. And then I realized, the guys on our team and put together that widget. I was like, this works. This is good. We like this.
Awesome,
Dan,
glad
thank
to
you
hear.
very
And
much for joining us.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, like our interface, we've done a lot of improvements to the interface, but the team that built it is really an API first team. So the interface is there just to make it easy to try and get started. But once if you start building a solution on top of it, the APIs are all exactly what you're looking for. So I will say it should be a good experience
In
all
some
around.
ways, yeah. In some ways, a lot like Singular. We have APIs and SDKs. People can control compositions, and yeah, that's vital. If you don't have that, you're basically there's just no scalability and no ability for others
Mm.
to interact with your core technology with their own UIs or what have you. So, um, I I found the UI experience of the Dolby IO very functional. It worked, and it reminded me a lot of Singular. It really did. It was just got to the point, and so
Easy to
that's a
use.
good
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, easy to use. It was uh, cool, great stuff. We're gonna have you again for sure, and maybe we'll get Ryan. We'll rope Ryan in on the next one. He got out of this one, but that's okay. Yeah, best to you guys and your team. Thanks for joining us, and we'll have you again soon.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks,
Take
Dan.
care.